morning, everyone. Welcome to Talking Horses. Sarah Albadwi and Andy Serling kicking off the week here at Belmont at the Big A at Aqueduct. We only have 3 more weeks left of Belmont at the Big A.
End of October, right?
Well, that would be 3 more weeks.
Well.
Also known as 3 more weeks.
Whatever way you slice
Theoretically,
it.
12 days if it ever stops raining. Good news is the rain Saturday may not be as bad. It's not the 6 inches that was predicted a week ago. It's gone down by about an inch every day. And it's not supposed to be till too late, so we're looking forward to possibly having a good Saturday for a change. It's been a while.
I know.
It's been a little rough getting things started, but we're on the turf day. It's a gorgeous day here. And,
Today's beautiful.
9-race card, lots of turf racing to talk about, including some big fields. And we'll head over to NYRA Bets before we get into today's action. If you're not a member, use the promo code MATCH200. We'll match for $200 of your initial deposit. Play through NYRA Bets. We have a middle pick 4. Of course, you know that drill. 2, 3, and 6 in our 9-race card today. Pick 5s in races 1 and 5 as well. We also have a $25 bonus if you bet 100 or more at Belmont at the Big A, Aqueduct, and Laurel Park as well. And there's no show today, by the way. There will be on YouTube.
You're the show.
Yeah, I'm the show. I'm coming on between races for some prowls. I don't know if Maggie's here or not. Do we know if
I don't
Maggie's
think
here?
so.
So you may just
Just
be
you.
stuck with me a little bit between most races today, about 12 to 15 minutes before each race. Anyhow, race number 1 at 1 mile to 16th in the turf. I found this to be an extremely excruciatingly difficult race, and a horse is going to take a lot of money in here as Coach Sessa will show running a distant second in her debut before going down to Colonial and not doing any running as the 8-5 favorite. I don't really think that much of this horse. I just thought she was picking up pieces for second last time, but this is a race where it's very hard to have a real opinion because there are some potentially dangerous firsters, but who really knows about them?
Right. And while this was a decent performance and the horse had a good turn of foot chasing Brock Nardini, she was always really following the winner of this race. And I just thought very much so with the flow of dynamics and didn't really overcome anything. And of course, you don't like to see them have that sort of regression next time out so extremely going over to Colonial and should have run a little bit better in that spot. So I don't know. This horse.
What turn of foot did this horse show? 'Cause, you know, I hate that phrase.
Oh, is it one of your pet peeves as well?
It's an overused, misused phrase. She just was sucking up into a pace that was collapsing, right? I mean, I guess in this field she has to be considered a potential contender, but she really didn't do any running at all. I mean, it was a race that just completely fell apart, and I think Brock Nardini's come back and not really done any running.
She didn't show up in Woodbine, but she did win a listed stakes following that.
Oh,
so,
she did?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Where was that?
I think Laurel.
Really? The New York bred. They shipped her down to Laurel. Okay.
Let me double check. But she
No,
did
you're probably
win
right.
something after
You're
that.
probably right.
So
Okay.
while she did kind of disappoint stepping up into graded stakes, she did come back and win.
Okay.
So
Okay.
not a total nobody.
Yeah, I mean, I guess she can win because who do you want in this race? I mean, it's
There's
like,
a lot of guesswork after her.
Yeah, I mean, the 12 who I have second and you have on top, she's going to probably end up being very close to favoritism despite doing absolutely no running in her debut.
And it's the pedigree, right?
Right, so you're taking a horse from a far outside post that didn't get bet in her debut, that didn't do any running, and I've got her second. I understand. But aren't we just sort of taking her because we just don't know what to do with anybody else?
Well, and because you expect with the dam producing almost all runners except for one other foal that this horse is going to get better second time out because, I mean, she's the half to Scuttlebuzz, the full to Lachey, My Heart Belongs to Daddy, Runaway Rumor. And Bill Mott, he doesn't have good stats with his second time starters, maidens in turf routes, but they're not that much worse than first time out. It's only 1% difference.
Right,
so,
but the horse did no running first time. I've got the horse second. I'm not.
No, she needs to get better.
She just did no running.
She was far back,
She broke
picked
a
up
little
a couple
slow
pieces,
and-
but it wasn't exactly an enthusiastic performance.
It was awful. She was awful. I mean, she didn't do any running. There was the Gargan firster. It also had a big pedigree. It cost a lot of money. That horse probably ran a little bit more than she did, actually. She may have had a little bit of a tougher trip, but this horse effectively saved ground the whole way, got to the rail in the first turn, was on the rail in the second turn, angled out sort of late in the turn, and kind of did no running. And we're all running to bet the horse. You've got it on top. I've got the horse second. And I just feel as though it's by default. And the problem is there's not screaming pedigrees, but the one Dividend Recap has a little bit of pedigree. You've got the horse third. Christofkin wins with firsters.
Yeah.
His other horse has a smidgen of pedigree, Naughty Destiny. A Destin, I'm not thrilled with taking Destins, but I just don't really, I mean, what are you supposed to do? Like, I've gone to Red Burgundy because at least in Regs Burgundy's case, she's going to be in front and she can run a little. Now, Rossi de Paz, not particularly good. 1 for 12 stretching maidens out in the turf. On the other hand, probably most of them didn't look like this. And the dam of this horse was a router, so maybe there's some stamina. But she didn't have any going 5.5 first time out. But they were much better horses.
Right, that's a concern too. His stats putting the blinkers on 2-year-old maidens, first-time blinkers. He's 1 for 30 as well, so I didn't love that either. But this is
They're
a horse,
desperation moves.
right? And this is a horse that at least has shown some speed, and maybe.
She'll be in front. I mean, unless she
Right.
falls down coming out of the gate.
Right. I just don't know if she can handle the stretch out.
No, I agree. And I didn't want to take the 12 because I figured she'd be massively overbet in here. And I guess Coach Sessa could run better. And after that, I mean, where are you supposed to
Dirt
go?
horses or horses
A Linda
with not
Rice
much
firster?
pedigree.
Right, bet because Irad's riding the horse?
Right. Who doesn't have good stats with first-time turf starters?
Terrible stats, right? She's 1 for 9 with 2-year-old firsters and turf routes. She's 0 for 4 with New York breds. But there is pedigree on Stars in the Sea. The second dam was pretty good turf, right? I found this race to be utterly inscrutable, especially without being able to see the board and seeing if any firsters take a little money in this race.
Yeah, and it's still early, but not the case at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the board doesn't matter right now, but yeah, I thought the first race was inscrutable. And the other thing is, you know, the 2, 5, and 12 are the 3 that have form. None of those horses have any question of any reliability about them at all.
No.
And yet I have them 1, 2, 3, and you have them 1, 2, 4. So it's very hard. Race number 2. I think that Charlie Baker is probably odds on to win the second race. The question in my mind is, which one is he going to win it with? Better Humor Me is the one you probably want. Will be the shortest price. Is going to be forward and chased Richie's Princess, who did fall apart in her second start, but it was a super fast pace, and she was well met that day.
She was, and this is a horse that was forward in the race where there was a horse that wired the field, and that was some serious speed that one showed, and obviously could take another step forward second time out. I wonder with both of his runners, it seems like they worked in company 2 works ago, and the blinkers go on the number 6 Island Rose, who was really far back in her first start. Are they looking for more speed out of this horse, and how does he play these 2 horses with each other going forwards into this race? Is he looking for more speed from another one? Because Better Humor Me already has some good early speed.
Well, I'm sure he'd like Island Rose to be a little more engaged than she was first time out. She's not likely to be in front of Better Humor Me, who seems to be the faster one. But the thing that for me is a couple of things. One is Island Rose was bet that day. She took a lot of money that day to be 7-2 in that race. And she didn't do any particular running. She was asked a little bit, and she tried. She just didn't really have much there. But the money was probably meaningful. Now, she's been scratched. She's been a vet scratch a few times, maybe twice, maybe 3 times since that race. I think maybe a vet scratch before it and maybe 1 time after it. I think there was some situation where she's running, she's a gun runner. I'm going to take her based on the money and the fact that she'll be a bigger price today. And I don't want anybody else in this race. Foxy Cara, I've just seen enough of her. Maybe she will appreciate cutting back to 6 furlongs, though. Maybe a little less distance will be helpful to her. But she's run well enough at a mile. You just wonder if she's lost her form completely.
Right. She does have that one race at a mile that was one of her better races. Yeah. So it's hard to just say that it was the distance getting to her, because I, like you, I saw the cutback and thought that she might be a little bit better. But I just also worry that her form's going the wrong way. And those were some weaker fields that she was in for her last 2 races as well.
And I imagine whether now she might be good, but she may just get bet by default, the 2 Malu for Todd Pletcher, who's the second foal. The first foal was a $5,000 claimer. The dam was unraced. I don't have any confidence that this horse is good, but I guess for Todd Pletcher, they're going to bet on Malu, and she won't be much necessarily to win.
No, I mean, he has really good numbers with these types of conditions, with his 3-year-old first-time starters in these type of state-bred and restricted dirt sprints on this circuit. He is 10 for 22 over the past 5 years, so he's 45% with a $2.85 ROI. So when he puts them in this kind of spot, they usually do perform, and I would say that this probably isn't the toughest field that she could be in for this level.
So what did I miss with Monetary Monarch?
The works. This horse is working really well with a legitimate series of fast workouts over at Fair Hill. These are lower profile connections, likely not to take much money, but some of their runners have hit the board at some pretty big prices on this circuit. There's really not much going on in terms of pedigree, but this horse is just working consistently fast over there, and it's not as though it's best of 10 or best of 20. This horse is working best of 40 in some cases. So I thought that this one might be intriguing with some speed and would be a fair price.
All righty. Race number 3. The Jacobson factor of trying to figure out which one might run from race to race.
And what kind of race they're going to run.
Handicapping in advance extremely annoying, to be honest with you. An endless amount of entries that both almost never run. Occasionally one of them runs, though. So with Colonel Bowman, who was the morning line favorite coming out, it changes things. Now, I'm assuming that you've taken the 6. Well, I won't assume. Why do you like the 6?
I thought that the dynamics of this race would likely suit. He's my honey badger because this one projects to be the outside speed right to Andiamo a Firenze. I think he's a little bit of a better horse, and I do feel as though the pace that he was involved in last time where he was up close, it's not like he completely threw in the towel behind New York Traffic, and I don't know that he was so much steadied out of position as he was dropping back a little bit, but it's not like he disappeared. He did kind of stay around, and so I thought that that improvement for the Atras barn and the way that I feel as though this race is going to set up, at least on paper, he'd be very benefited in that spot.
Right, he's supposed to be sitting second behind Andiamo a Firenze, who just doesn't seem really fast enough to win this race, even though he is the controlling speed. He's just never run a race that's even mildly competitive. And I agree, I thought he's Money Badger did not run particularly well two back despite the win. Ran a lot better last time out. And the others are pace compromise. You take a look at Bold Journey. Now, Bold Journey obviously makes a lot of sense in this race. I don't agree that this horse stumbled last time. I didn't see it.
He didn't stumble. He just shifted in, and Joel was kind of looking down as he
didn't
was
stumble.
moving over.
Yeah, and I think
he didn't really fall in any way. He just kind of shifted about.
And his position was no different than it normally is. It was a quick pace, but he did run well in here, and he's a very logical horse. I don't have any problem with him. The only problem with him is the relative lack of pace in this race.
Right, and he's a horse that actually had a little bit more tactical speed in the past. He actually broke his maiden gate to wire, and I think that's
an Emir.
It's been a while. I mean,
he has no speed anymore.
Right, it's really been dulled, especially since they switched over to the turf and then switched him back. So I don't know. I just feel as though everybody else that made sense in here was going to be coming from off the pace business model as well.
Like business model, and we'll show him two back when he got the job done. But you know, he's also kind of your typical David Jacobson horse, right? He runs this race, and granted, he got a reasonable pace to close into, but these were good horses. And he had been off a trip where he probably was on a bad inside the time before that. But then he ships him down to Laurel, and he's 2-1, and he's a complete and total no-show. And okay, horses, the speed was third, and the winner was on the pace, but the second horse came from sixth, and he just did no running. And it's one of the reasons, and I talk about it, I have problems with David Jacobson horses, is it just doesn't seem that their form is consistent from race to race.
It's not.
It's way too often. Sometimes it is, but frequently it's not.
Right, precisely. Well, that's the same thing I noticed in that race last time, because it's not as though he wasn't without opportunity. A horse did make up ground.
Right, he should have done a little running.
It's not as though nobody was capable of picking up some pieces. He should have run better in that spot, even if he wasn't getting the win that day. And it just was such a huge regression, and he hasn't run a race that bad in quite some time.
I agree, but he did run a fast race 2 races back, but he's got IRAD, and he has a lack of pace, but I'm never shocked when one race he randomly seems to show up and run well. He's about the only time I've guessed right with David Jacobson in about 5 years.
Hold him close.
It's just hard. It's just, you know, I guess at the end of the day, you look for horses you can make a little bit of a case for that are big prices. Because at least if you're right occasionally, you get paid. Race number 4, there isn't a lot of form in race number 4. We both land on the same horse, talk about She Will Dance.
I mean, this horse is going to be a gigantic price, but there's some turf pedigree with this one. Roy Lerman trained the dam as well. Evidently, a Grade 3 winner going 1.5 miles, won the 2016 Long Island. She won her turf debut as well. There's one half sibling who won second time out, going 1 mile on the grass. And he has some good stats with his maiden second time starters in a small sample size. He is 4 for 20, so 20% with a $3.87 ROI over the past 5 years. 3 of those were on the turf. This horse had the dirt race that was one of those speed bias days, clearly doesn't like that surface. And I just thought that this one would be a gigantic price for connections that aren't really bet with a little bit of pedigree.
Yeah, we'll see how big the price is. You never know with Roy, and Roy is kind of a wise guy. There's a lot of turf in the second family as well, and this is one family that Roy has done well with over the years. And for me, it wasn't, I'm just going to lose a few dollars in this horse. I expect her to run seventh. The one thing I'll say about her first star is at least she showed some speed.
Yes.
At least she showed that she had a little bit of ability, some there and there, could be engaged. The other thing is, I have no idea where else you're supposed to go in this race. Like, we'll look at I'm a Sure Thing last time out. This was down at Gulfstream in February. Where has she been for 8 months? I thought she ran okay in this race, but you're really that afraid of her?
No, because who's coming out of this race? She hasn't been facing tough horses when she was at Gulfstream, and while she was running some okay numbers early on this year, I just didn't think that she was facing the toughest of company because...
It was the first race. Mission of Joy is pretty good.
Everybody else, though?
No, everybody. No. I'm not arguing. I think she ran the race she ran. I don't think that. I think the 73 buyer is indicative of who she ran against, and I'm not so sure 73 buyer can't win this race.
True.
I just didn't find. I mean, you've got her third. I don't have her anywhere. I had her fifth. So
yeah,
I'm there.
I like that she's at least tactical. I mean, she closed from a little bit further back at Tampa. She sat a little bit closer in her second start. She made a move in her third start, and Clement does well off layoffs like this, but I don't trust her.
Yeah, I'm not. He does well off layoff with turf routers.
22%.
What?
With maidens and turf routes, 7 for 32, 22%.
What's the time period?
Past 5 years,
No, what's the layoff period?
180 plus days.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm surprised because he has a lot of lousy layoff numbers as well. And the other horse, LeBeau, I mean, LeBeau ran a very credible race 2 races back, lost to a Safi Joseph firster, but then comes back and has absolutely no running at Kentucky Downs whatsoever. And I don't know.
Well, she didn't break, and she did rush up.
Yeah, but the second horse was on the pace. I mean, she stopped badly.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, look, I've got her fourth like you. I'm not going to be shocked. She also has a race 2 back. I mean, I don't know. And the horse that I don't like, and I have her third, but I don't like You Only Live Once. I mean, you've got her second. Go ahead.
I mean,
she's a sucker play to me.
She did have some legitimate slow start to deal with last time, but you're taking her stretching out. She is likely to be a short price, so I don't know. I feel as though she was at least making up some decent ground, but...
I thought she ran well in there.
Yeah.
But do I want her going long?
I don't know.
Todd Pletcher's got horrible numbers. Second-time starter stretching out turf maidens, he's 4 for 55. Stretching out maidens in general, he's 15%. But in their second starts, the numbers are awful. And this horse, I mean, this horse has to be a short price in here, right?
Because who else would be?
Closed into a turf sprint. I agree. Broke a half length, 1.5 lengths slow. I thought ran well in there. I don't disagree. But it was a race where the pace held together. Yep. I wonder how good the race was. But Todd's terrible with these numbers. And these stretch out numbers are tricky numbers. Most people aren't good with them.
Yeah.
Not just Todd.
Yeah, I think Weaver was a surprising 1 for...
1 for 33.
Yeah. And I was shocked to see that because he has so many successful moves in so many other places.
Riviere stretching out with maidens, 1 for 33, a 59-cent ROI.
Yep.
I agree, and that's one of the reasons I didn't use that horse. I think Not in a Million Years could be very interesting in here. I considered putting this horse on top. I don't know. Watching that horse's debut, I get a very strong sense, and this is just me watching the race. I've never, ever in a million years asked Chad Brown about this horse. I got a sense this horse needed a race first time out. I thought this horse, probably a horse that's going to run a lot better second time out. Whether or not it's good enough to win remains to be seen.
I think you could argue that she was making a little bit of a move and had some starts and stops in there. So it's possible. And I mean, of course, these connections are always dangerous. I just didn't love that race in general.
Well, it wasn't a particularly good race. I mean, it was okay, but who's here so good? I found this another race where there just isn't much. Yeah, but there isn't a lot of form to go on.
No, it's a good betting race.
To me, they're going to make the 7 the favorite because of the first race, and I don't trust that horse at all. Race number 5, before we take a break, I guess in race number 5, Salto de Tigre will be favored, a horse that just doesn't win anymore. And look at the losses this horse has at a short price.
And look at the massive drop now as well. I mean, this is a horse that has some sort of consistency, at least in the past, and was running between those 70 and 80 buyers and facing tougher company, but now is in for 12.5 off the last race as well. I don't trust this horse.
But has lost optional claimers in 12.5s. Now, I didn't look them up particularly.
He wasn't in for tag for a couple.
No, I know
yeah.
that. But
Yeah.
I know he wasn't in for the tag, but he has run in optional 12.5, so I don't know how good those races really were. I just have a problem because he doesn't win.
Right.
And to me, that's a real problem. I mean, he's lost races at 3-2, 1-2, 6-5, 4-5, 8-5, 5-2.
Yep.
7th at 3-1 last time. He's just a massive underachiever. On the other hand, not an easy race to like anybody.
No.
You have gone the 7, Hammer and Hammer, who I don't think can run at all anymore.
Yeah, this is not a confident pick. It's just, I feel as though he is at least a horse for this level. He ran third, 2 back first off the claim for Falcone, a 71 buyer behind Berge and Durkin's Call. Durkin's Call is in really good form right now. He has run second with a similar buyer speed figure in 2 starts since then, one of which Hammer and Hammer was in next out. And that race with Magnolia Midnight where he just dominated that field, I think that was a little bit tough for the level for the 16,000, but he ran a pretty similar number, and I don't really trust him much, but at least he is kind of the horse for this level, whereas I don't really trust the class droppers either.
I don't know where to go in this race. I mean, I tried to make a case for Don't Be Late, who had been in good form until his last start, and I don't think he's impossible in here. I took Bold Victory. I'm not in any way in love with Bold Victory, claimed and dropping down the way he did, but he was a horse that was on a dead rail for a significant portion of the race last time. And when I'm looking for an alternative to a horse like the 2 who doesn't seem to win, I'd rather take a horse whose last race is not as bad as it looks because he spent most of the time on a dead rail. I don't love that Rick and Sandy Goldfarb claimed this horse for 20 and they're coming back for 12.5. They get claimed, they barely get out for the whole thing, even if they win the race. Maybe they're trying to move on. I don't trust this horse, but I'm going to take a shot with him. He does lack speed like your horse does, and I think a problem in this race is the general lack of pace, and that could actually help Don't Be Late, a horse who could be on the pace with the 8 Joker Boy. Now, I'm not betting Joker Boy, but he is the speed in here, but Wayne Pott's going to win a race in New York on me.
Same. But Don't Be Late, he seems like a tricky horse to ride because he did get that win 2 back, but then last time he bolted on the turn, and that was with a different jockey. So then getting yet another different rider today, I just feel like he might be kind of that difficult type that you want to get to know and have experience with, and this is a rider that doesn't have that with him.
Well, he could ride him in the morning. We don't know that he doesn't.
True. That's a good point.
I mean, I don't know that he does. I'm just totally guessing. I think he makes some sense in this race as an alternative because he was in good form before that last race, and obviously something went wrong.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a race where, listen, Salte de Tigre may just win by default because he might just have found the right field, but he's been in a lot of right fields and he's not getting it done in, and those kind of horses burn a lot of money. See what happens. Race 5 starts the late pick 5. We'll be back with the late pick 4. I thought the 6th race, one of the more interesting races on today's card.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
Welcome back to Talking Horses. Sarah Bodway and Andy Serling. And I thought that race number 6 was a super, super fun race. And both of them have horses that can win, that are coming off wins. But they don't have to win the race as we start with Loon Cry, who you have second and I have third. I'll let you talk about her.
I mean, this horse makes plenty of sense and has been very successful on this surface, but has been facing state-bred company. So, of course, you want to see her do it against Open. And this is one that will also be coming from off the pace. So you also wonder what kind of setup she's going to get in here. I think that there might be some speed on, especially with the presence of Play the Music and Fleet-Footed if they decide to go with her again. But she's just very good. I just thought that she would be a little bit too short of a price now facing open for the first time.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. She's in decent form. She makes a lot of sense. I mean, she got the right trip last time out. Others got less good trips, but I agree. She's very logical here. I just don't love horses off wins, and she's running in New York bred conditions, so she's running in the open non-winners of one, which is the same thing that Carey's doing. Now, Carey was an odd favorite last time as we go to the replay of her last.
The most
who
perfect
got
trip.
Extraordinarily lucky to win this race. I guess she too is in good form, but I just prefer others. I don't think, do you have her anywhere? I don't have her anywhere in here.
No, I didn't want her. I thought that she got bet last time. They kind of knew that she was going to run a big race last time. She had been working really well coming into that and off the win, but she was so fortunate that that spot opened up on the rail as it did, and Joel Rosario was able to guide her through there. And really, if that had not been the case, she's not winning that race.
I agree. I think that she is. She's a little dressed up with nowhere to go. We'll see how much money she takes. She is 6-1 on the line. Talk to me about a horse I bet last time and Play the Music, who I have fourth.
They haven't been using the speed of Fleet-Footed over her last couple of races, and she did break a little bit sharper last time, was ahead of Play the Music and Decanter, and then was allowed to kind of settle back.
Does she have to go, though?
Why hasn't she been going?
I don't know.
That's what I want to know.
I don't know.
And if she doesn't go again, isn't Play the Music going to be ahead of her?
Well, Play the Music is actually probably a little faster. Play the Music got a horrendous ride last time. I mean, I have no idea what Dylan Davis's plan was. She was the clear-cut speed, but apparently he felt sitting fourth wide behind a slow pace was a better idea. Now,
With the
maybe that
favorite
was
that went
the
Guettoir.
instructions or something, was rate off a slow pace after we got caught in a suicidal duel the time before that and didn't even run that badly. She got a very foolish ride last time, whether it was Dylan or it was the connections. No, I agree.
Whatever the case might be, I just thought that if they don't use Fleet-Footed, she could end up inheriting the lead. She does get a rider change, and I just thought that she could be forward and possibly take this field all the way.
Well, I would have had her higher. I'm not going to change my picks. But if Poets Woods was in the race, I think that she was going to have a much tougher time, because Poets Woods had to go from post 2 and has a lot of speed. So without her in the race, I think it makes her much stronger. I agree. She's a big player. I probably should have moved her up in here. I probably should have gone 13-8, 4-3, or 3-4 or something. I do think the Decanter's okay, but I wonder if she's going to not get as much pace as she's going to get now, and that'll help the 8, who beat her last time, and she just did suck along on the rail last time. I was hoping with the 2 she'd get more pace in this race. With Poets Woods out, the pace in this race becomes a lot more murky.
Right.
I have to bet on Fontana Fred in this race. She ran huge 2 races back and should absolutely have won that race. I mean, not only did she completely blow the break, but she ended up, and this is one that Javier, I'm sure, wished he could have had back, because he's not prone to making premature moves. I think he was frustrated, and it's almost like they forgot about how do you make your money in that race, and she just got incredibly lucky to beat her and picked her up. But, you know, that 76 buyer could have been an 82 buyer if she hadn't gotten left and hadn't gotten a ridiculous pace scenario of the premature wide move. And then last time out, I'm not sure what she was doing on the pace last time. It wasn't a pace that held together, claimed by Mike Dubb and Mike Maker. I thought she was very, very interesting in this race, and we'll see what kind of position she can get. Who's riding her?
I think it's Dylan Davis.
Isn't Dylan riding anybody else?
Oh, yes, he is. He was supposed to be on Caironi. So
No, he's riding her. Caironi is
Okay.
being ridden by Jose Gomez.
Okay.
I think Fontana Fred is extremely interesting. I have to give her a chance. She'll be a bit of a price. Other horse going to take money in here. Private Credit. I don't like Private Credit. She was on a gold rail last time at Kentucky Down. She's going to get bet because of the connections, and I just don't think she's very good. I think Chad Brown's just sort of desperately trying to find out if there's something she can do well.
She's never really run a fast race.
No, she's just not very good.
Right.
And she keeps getting bet because of the connections.
Exactly.
And she's just not very good. But maybe this race she won't take quite as much money. David has lost my sock at 5-1. I'm skeptical. But this horse does have good figs out of town.
She does, and she'll need some pace to close into, but I thought that if that does materialize and things don't work out for Play the Music like I thought they would, she does at least have some good numbers.
She's also short because Irad Ortiz is riding her,
course.
and that's the reason for that, which he's probably right about. Race number 7, another full field. And today's races are marked by full fields of the turf races. Thankfully, it didn't rain and get a chance to run. And I thought this was another race where there wasn't there was not a ton of form in this race, and they're going to bet Rayumi just because. And we'll take a look at Rayumi's last race. I thought she was awful in there.
She hasn't really impressed, right? I mean, this is her first time dropping down like this, but also, what running has she really done in some of her races? She's getting to save ground, having every opportunity to close up the rail, and just...
Rail was good this day.
I mean...
Great ride by Trevor. She got there.
She did,
and then she
was
just
not
didn't
there
finish.
at all. Yep.
I think it's not, Christoph's numbers dropping down first time for a tag, they're fine. He's run $1.79 in turf race, 21%. So
yeah, they're
fine,
being realistic, but
not at 21%. They're not good for a horse who's probably going to be under 3-1 or under. And David's got her 5-2.
You kind of wonder if she used to be a little bit better too.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
I don't wonder that. I'm sure she was. I mean, that's obvious. And even when she was good, she wasn't a winner.
No,
right?
no,
She's
she was
not a
still
winning
not
type.
very good. She was finishing second pretty frequently, but she was running a bit better than she has been since she's returned off the layoff. And I think now they're just like, well, this is what we have, and it might be time to move on.
Who's unless you want to keep her as a brood mare, this is where she's supposed to be running. If somebody wants to claim her at the end of turf season as a 5-year-old mare, have at it. The problem and the reason she'll also be short is it ain't easy making a case for anybody else in this race. I mean, seriously. I mean, like, you've picked a horse, and I mean, I saw that David picked this horse too. I have no idea why you guys like this horse. I'm not saying you could be wrong. You may not be right. I just don't think this horse has any
Well, I
good
could
at all.
also be wrong, but this is
Well, we're all probably going to be wrong. In
Well,
most
this is
races,
true.
but horse racing.
that start 3 races ago that was won by Miss San Gabriel. That was a race where it was such a merry-go-round, and she was the only one that was making up any ground in that race. She was able to pick up some pieces in there to finish 4th, and that was for the $50,000 tag. She's not a dirt horse. You can forgive that last race. And then facing tougher in that starter allowance last time, going a mile and an eighth, and I just think that she hasn't necessarily really been in spots where she could be successful. So is this one of them? I don't know, but she at least was overcoming the flow of the race 3 starts back for a tag.
Oh, okay. I don't agree she did any running in the race on July 27th. I do agree that it was a forwardly dominated race. I think part of the reason it was forwardly dominated were the right horses were 1, 2, 3 around the racetrack. And see, to me, I would rather have Lady Jasmine, because Lady Jasmine, at least she was outside, whereas the winner was on the rail, the second horse was on the rail, she ran the second best race, and at least she did some running in there. So my problem with Annihilate, and I could be wrong, either Annihilate's race 4 races back is totally phony. She was sitting on top of a ridiculously slow base. No, she wasn't on the rail. The rail was an advantage, but she was in the 2-path just outside that horse, and that race totally held together. And frankly, I think Except Temptation did more running than she did in that race. And Except Temptation has a better inside post. And she's also 1 for 25. But Annihilate's on her way there at 1 for 13. So I would rather take those horses. Listen, she's 12-1 on the line. You should bet her, and I'm not trying to talk anybody off her. I just didn't see it.
Yeah.
And you say that last race was that much better. Was it really?
I wouldn't say miles and leaps ahead, but somewhat.
Maybe. 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 I don't think so, but maybe.
I just don't think she needs to be as far back as she was 3 starts ago either. That was really not where she wants to be. And I know that Peg's AK Girl got to waltz around in that start a couple races ago, but she did come back and run pretty well running 3rd to Highland Grace. So I know that race was a set of
with the
circumstances.
pace held together and
yes,
everybody.
but that horse did, I think she won the start prior and then she came back and ran 3rd. So
Right, but she was, how have any of the horses that were speeding that race done in subsequent starts? Have they run particularly well? I'm not sure how many the ones that were Highland Grace herself. She's in the stake on Saturday. Listen, Lady Jasmine, listen, she was on the rail last time, was the place to be, but I will say that last race did completely fall apart into her benefit, and I think that she is clearly running against easier horses now, and she too figures to be a decent enough price. I don't love her, believe me, I'm not, and I'm sure you don't love the 9 either here. I had a lot of problems near. I think that Sarah Chrome is going to take money because she has that ridiculously high fig, and she's the classic example of a claiming horse who goes into a stakes race and therefore has to get a figure 10 points higher than she can run. She didn't do any running in that race 2 back. It says checked. I mean, I guess she had a little bit of trouble in there, right? Early?
I guess.
She did early.
I think with her, you would probably just want her to use that kind of speed that she tried to show in that stakes race that didn't work out for her.
Who? Sarah Chrome?
Right.
What speed?
Didn't she try to wire the field, or am I thinking of somebody else?
Saratoga Chrome?
Maybe I'm thinking of somebody else.
Well, you have your PPs in front of you. What are we
let's find
talking
out.
about? She was sixth in a race with a monstrously
Oh yeah,
slow
no,
pace.
I'm thinking of somebody else. You're
Okay.
right.
I mean, listen,
blame
she's
her.
dropping down. I don't think she's impossible. I've got her in there. You've got her in there. To me, listen, you can make a case for the 9. I can make a case for the 8. I can make a little case for the 3, even though she
Yeah.
never wins. I think that the point of this race is to bet against Rayumi. You've got her second. I don't want her. I don't. If I had some goofy ideas with long shots in some of the earlier races, and I'm betting a pick 5, I guess. I mean, I'm not particularly clever in race 5. I guess you want to have her somewhere defensively in your pick 5 tickets because she can win. But she feels like in the race, to me, a good horse to bet against, Rayumi. She kind of wins because nobody
Because
wins.
no one else shows up.
Yeah, and maybe that's the case. Maybe that's the case.
Yeah.
Maybe she's just found the right spot.
I mean, I will say, I think both of us definitely don't want Tap It Up, who had the perfect trip of perfect trips in that race that both Lady Jasmine and Annihilator coming out of, because she saved ground the whole way.
Yeah.
And just followed the winner.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't
agree.
want anything to do with her.
Lady Jasmine much more than her. I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah.
Plus, she doesn't really have the form to back it up anywhere else. Whereas Lady Jasmine is a horse that's been in some tough fields and had a little bit of trips in her races. So
Right.
she's
That's the
of
one I did not want out
giving
of that
her
race.
last chance to. Race number 8, David's got Rosebud as a heavy favorite morning line. Man, I guess she's getting some class relief. Her last race bothered me a little bit.
Yeah, it was not good. And it was a regression that we had not seen from her since she was trying to face listed stakes company. So
She didn't run badly 2 back. She was compromised by the track being sealed and Hot
I don't
Fudge
think
being
Hot
on the
Fudge is
wire of
bad.
the field.
Yeah.
She runs those races. I guess she's the horse to beat. I know you scratched into Mosienko. I'm going to take Mosienko as well in here. We'll show her winning 2 back. I just like Mosienko. She's a pretty reliable horse. I mean, last time out going a mile, not exactly a field that fit her very well. This race, a logical race. And I mean, I guess the best race that Rosebud runs will probably beat her, but I'm going to take a chance she's more reliable.
right, I guess that Rosebud will have a tactical advantage maybe on her because she is one that comes from off the pace in Mosienko. But that race last time, going a mile against Nostalgic and Gerrymander, that's a tougher field that she has every excuse not to show up against. And she's just been really reliable, consistently running decent numbers in good form. I definitely don't mind the cutback to 6 furlongs. And she just seems like the most trustworthy horse in this spot. I was going to take a little shot with Dreaming of Snow, who was a little bit interesting,
I
but
agree.
she's not playing. So
Yeah, I'm
Mosienko
sorry
it
she's
is.
not playing. I was
Yeah,
interested
she
in
was
seeing her as well.
intriguing.
No, I totally agree. Interestingly enough, the horses behind her in that race last time out had actually run pretty well. I mean, you've got self-isolation for David Jacobson, and isn't this kind of runs this 94 buyer. This is the race 2 back. Now, I will say, in looking that number up, it doesn't hold up to scrutiny. The second place finisher, 67, 69, 85, 66 or 68, 73.
Yep.
The third horse came back and ran 17 buyer points lower. Timeform US has that race a good 10 or more points lower. So I wonder if it was really that good. But she's Jacobson. She's going to be forward in this race. And, on any given day, his horses are capable of winning races. And I don't know how much speed is going to be. I guess it depends on what Hey Mama Luke does.
Right. I mean, she seems like the other one that might go. And you look at the kind of races that she's run, and that 94 certainly stands out as being 9 points higher than anything we had ever seen from her on dirt in the past. And you look at the start before, a 62, the start after, a 63. It's just,
Jacobson
what kind of race are we going to see from this horse? Because you can't rely on what sort of form they're going to bring into the race.
But it's a consistency for Jacobson's horses.
Yes, he
That
is
from
consistently
race to
inconsistent.
race, right? From race to race, they do not hold. I mean, some do, but often some of them don't. And we can show cases quite frequently. We'll see what happens in race number 8, and race number 9 is coming up, and Scherzando is running, and we'll look at Scherzando, Buston Santino, and Akalusa. And Scherzando is clearly the horse to beat in this race, but Scherzando always finds somebody to beat him. He is an almost remarkable hanger.
Don't you feel bad for him?
No, he's
little bit.
made $125,000 with no wins in 19 starts. He just doesn't want to win.
No, he should have gotten there last time, and he makes plenty of sense, but he just doesn't win. He's had 19 opportunities, finished second and third
Look at
4
him,
times
hey.
each. I like his turf races better. He should get some pace in here with the 2 horses that went at each other last time going ahead, but he just doesn't win, so I can't trust him.
So why do you like Okaloosa?
Because he's going to be outside speed now instead of the inside speed to Buston Bustino Santino. I liked him on debut. He actually ran pretty well on the dirt in that race that was rained off first time out. Ran decently last time.
I bet him last time.
Yeah, he ran pretty well. I just think that now he'll be the outside speed, and that could benefit him. But am I concerned that the two speeds that dueled each other into third and fourth are back again? Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, well, they managed to screw that up. One will be aggressive and one won't. Though it's hard to see Manny and Kendrick looking to take their mounts back, and I don't disagree. I've got him ahead of him. I have to bet Scaramanga once more. This is a horse with a giant turf pedigree. The dam was 7 for 14 in the turf. This is her only foal to run. First time out, she had a ridiculous post. She ended up chasing outside, going long, and now they're cutting back, going short. And I want to give her one more chance going short. She's got enough pedigree, and I think she deserves a chance, and she's found the right race to do it. So I have to give the James Bond fan horse. Shouldn't James Bond train a horse named Scaramanga? Scaramanga is the bad guy and the man with the golden gun. What about the 12? Will he take money for Todd Pletcher? Kentucky 31?
Probably. And it just seemed like a spot where a new face might be enticing, but it's not as though there's a ton to go on it here.
Yeah, he's a Calumet actual sale purchase. The dam produced one turf runner. There's a little bit of turf in that pedigree.
It's interesting that Johnny stays and rides, but yeah.
Well,
I
he
mean,
does ride a lot for Todd Pletcher, right?
True, but last race of the day on a Thursday.
People have gone broke with that angle. What about Javier Castellano staying for the last, or Jose Lezcano staying for the last?
What about it?
Or Kendrick or Manny Franco staying? Johnny's run 16 races. Well, he's barely been here, it seems like. But,
Right, that's what I'm saying. He's not here as much as everybody else.
But he's here today.
He is.
And I imagine if
And it's
Todd
great
asked
that
him
he's
to
here.
ride, I read leaving early or something today.
I don't know. Is he off to Keeneland?
I don't know if he's there tomorrow or he's here. It's hard to keep track. Anyway,
We're here.
Sarah and I will be back tomorrow as well. Head over to Naira Bets. No better time than the present. Use the promo code MATCH200. We'll match with $200 of your initial deposit. The Delaware trainers list they're showing. That's
I know,
not
I
a
see
fair
that.
fight.
That's something.
Middle, pick 4, 2, 3, and 6. The pick 4s, 1 and 5 for the pick 5s. $25 bonus. You bet 100 or more at both Aqueduct and Laurel. Head over to Naira Bets to opt in for that as well. And I think that's it. That is it.
No show.
We're done. That's right. No show today.
You're the
We'll
show.
be back on tomorrow. No show today. Okay, we're done. Johnny I not done. Just getting started. He's up next. The reprise, Scratch and Changes. Have a great day.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.